Welcome to the AGRASEN webinar for turf and ornamental industry. Today's topic is Enhanced Efficiency Fertilizer Technologies, choosing the right technology for your needs. Good afternoon, I'm Kevin Davies, Turf and Ornamental Business Manager at AGRASEN. If I haven't had a chance to meet you before, I'd let you know that I've been in the turf and ornamental and agricultural markets for 30 years, with a concentration of 2 decades in launching products in the T&O marketplace. For the last 5 years, I've focused on the biological and biochemistry products of Agricen in how they help nutrient efficiency. So let's start the webinar. Our journey today will take us through a couple of things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go through 3 or 4 slides to discuss why are we looking at fertilizer efficiencies. We're looking at fertilizer efficiencies because a lot of the fertilizers we use are inefficient, and the industry has worked hard to develop technologies to make them more efficient. After I set the stage with that, I'm going to turn over the screen to Dr. Beth Gertal of Auburn University, and Beth will be reviewing the different technologies that companies have come up with to help improve the efficiencies of fertilizer. After Dr. Gertal finishes, I'll come back and focus in on the biochemistry portion of the program and NutriLife, the product from Agricen. During this portion, I'll help you understand a little bit more about NutriLife and how it might fit into your customer's fertilizer program. So what we're going to talk about is inefficiency of fertilizer first. The reason we're going to discuss fertilizer efficiencies technologies is because right now, most of the fertilizer we put down is inefficient. It actually is not plant available. And if you take a look at this chart here, the industry looks at and determines how much do we think we get into the plant from the various major nutrients, such as nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. It's fairly well agreed on that somewhere between 40 and 60% of the nitrogen, or if you will, approximately 50%, is lost or not recovered by the plant. Phosphorus, on the other hand, is even less efficient. We only see about a 10 to 30% recovery or into the plant of what's applied. And potassium has a wide range of efficiency or inefficiency as you look at it, from 20 to 60%. One of the problems is that we apply these nutrients in non-plant available forms, and they must be mineralized or processed before the plant can take them up and utilize them for growth and development. So they're not plant available as one portion of the inefficiency. The second portion is that the mineralization process itself is quite complex, and we need to have a lot of positive things happen in the soil, in that nutrient cycling area around the root zone, to have success in getting nutrients mineralized. This is an example of the nitrogen mineralization cycle. And as you can see, it gets quite complex. What I'd like to just talk about real quick is here's where we apply or get nutrients into the soil. Bacteria, microbial bacteria, break down and make it plant available and deliver to the plant its preferred state of nitrogen, ammonium, NH4. This is one of the 2 types of nitrogen forms that can be taken up by the plant. This is, as I said, the preferred form, because as this moves into the plant, it can be absorbed readily as energy and used by the plant. Other areas happen downline in the mineralization process, such as denitrification and nitrification. And through all this, another breakdown of the nitrogen happens. Ammonium can turn into nitrate. Now, nitrate can also be taken up by the plant, but during the take-up of this into the plant has to process it inside the plant, or while it's in the plant, to turn it into energy. And unfortunately, the plant uses as much energy making it into available form that it actually uses the same amount of energy to get it into that form as it does deliver the energy. So it's almost a net no gain when you talk about nitrate into the plant. And of course, when we get it into nitrate, if you have some water go through the soil system, it can actually leach out into the aquifer below. So with everything happening here, it's a very complex approach and complex system of nutrient cycling that makes it, again, difficult to assure that we're going to have efficiency in delivering of our nutrients to the plant. One of the things that our industry, the turf and ornamental industry, has talked about over the years is that we look at the 4 R's, how we apply fertilizer, the right place, at the right time, in the right amount. And we've been really spending a lot of time on how much fertilizer we've been putting in and out um, of the root zone these days, especially with government regulations. And one area really specific is the right fertilizer. There's a lot of new technologies to help improve the efficiency of the fertilizer. And that's what Dr. Gertel is going to talk about in a few minutes, are these technologies. We broke them into kind of 3 categories, if you will: slow and controlled release products. They are physical products. They are coatings that actually coat the prill of the nitrogen and meter it out over time. Then you'll have nitrogen stabilizers or nitrogen inhibitors. They are chemical additive to the nitrogen that basically inhibits a specific bacteria or enzyme from breaking down the nitrogen into plant available mode. So again, it slows down the activity so that we don't have a lot of leaching and or volatilization. The last area is the biochemical area of the technology that is served by biology. And the biology and biochemistry together actually stimulate the bacterial and plant function to help process the nutrients to make them plant available and stimulate the plant to take them up. So with these 3 different technologies, these categories of technologies, we'll now look at these in a wider base and look at the science behind them. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our company, AGRASEN. It's a science and technology company. We're basically the leaders in the development of applied biochemistry-based solutions for plant nutrition. What that means is that we're developing biochemical and biological products that will become the new tools for turf managers such as golf course superintendents, lawn care operators, athletic field supervisors, anybody involved in the turf industry, turf and ornamental industry. We're going to develop new tools for them in managing nutrition so they can improve the quality of their turf and ornamentals and look at it as an enhanced value for when they buy their fertilizer products. And as mentioned, we're a science and technology company. We spend a lot of money on research and development. And this is just a snapshot of 2011, 2012. You can see we had over 20 studies in agriculture across the United States. Turf and ornamental, we had 6 different universities involved. We do research on our technology, and this will help us identify the strengths of our product and going forward create new products for us. And we have more products in the pipeline. And we also use third-party investigators to help us do a lot more research to tie in with the universities. And to date, AGRASEN has over 600 studies demonstrating the product efficacy both in agriculture and turf. We're going to talk about the biochemical portion of our product, and you're going to hear that word a lot. I'm going to try to give you an analogy very quickly so that you understand it on a very basic form. I want you to imagine you've had a long week of work, all week, Monday through Saturday, maybe 12 hours a day. You come home Saturday, you're exhausted, you grab a drink, you go and sit on your back porch, and you're not hungry, but you're exhausted. And just at that time, your neighbor throws a steak on the grill, and you get a good smell of that steak cooking, and it smells good, but you're still not hungry. In about 5 to 10 minutes, your stomach starts to make noises and tell you that it's hungry, and all of a sudden your mouth is salivating and getting ready for food. And a message goes to your brain and says, hey, we can eat. So what happened? Biochemistry happened. In your body, just like in the soil that we're going to talk about, the biochemical reaction signaled you that it would be a good time to eat. And it got everything in place for you to have food. Get your stomach ready, your mouth ready, and everything like that. The actual items that make up the biochemicals that we'll talk about are items you've heard about probably for a long time, enzymes. And they break down organic matter and help transform nitrogen into energy. Proteins, and these proteins help signal changes in the microbial response. Antibiotics help reduce competition. Chelators to help mobilize nutrients. And other compounds to help induce plant rooting, change physiological function, and induce an immune response, and even help increase salt tolerance. So all these biochemical help the soil microbial functioning through a signaling process. I'm going to go through NutriLife, and at the end, I hope you take away 6 key points. One is that NutriLife is going to deliver agronomic performance by improving nutrient availability, increasing nutrient uptake, giving you larger root masses, and not just deeper, longer roots, but more root tips and more root hairs. It's going to enhance plant stress in those hot summer days, the August days, mostly by delivering healthier plants and bigger root bases. I'm going to show you some studies now to help drive home these benefit points. But first, I'm going to talk about the science behind our product. On this side of the area, you'll see a simple biological. This petri dish is filled with a biological that has tons of biology, billions and billions of biological bugs in there. The NutriLife has biology also, but not as much, but a more diverse community of biology. And why is this important? Because it's not always the number of bugs you have, but it's the amount, what they do. So what we do is we check different products in our product to see, okay, how do we increase the functioning, or how do we increase making plant available nutrients, the improved availability of nutrients available. This microtiter plate has 96 wells, and each well has a food source, running from very simple food source down to very complex. And as you apply the product, here the simple biological is applied. If it turns dark purple, it means that this product did its job and made this nutrient or this food plant available. You can see this did about a 30% job, not bad, but not great. Where NutriLife, even with less bacteria, with less billions of bugs, actually did a better job, almost 96% of improved ability to make nutrients available. So it's not always the bacterial count, the number of bacteria, but it's actually the functioning, what they're doing. So we have increased functioning. Another part of the study that we did at the University of Kentucky, and you can see these rhizoboxes. The researcher at the University of Kentucky called us after a couple of weeks and said, gentlemen, I don't see a lot of difference in the two sides. This is without NutriLife, this is with NutriLife. And we asked the scientist, what type of fertilizer did you use? And he goes, oh, I didn't put any nutrients in. I thought you were a fertilizer. So understanding now, he added the nutrients, and 5 weeks later, we had a tremendous nutrient effect. You can see the amount of root growth here. And he was so impressed by this root growth that he said it has to be more than just microbial processing of nutrients. And that's where he studied and determined that we have over 500 biochemical products, elements in our product. So it's not just biological, it's a biochemical. So what do these things provide to us? This was a turf grass study down in the University of Florida. And typical back then, this was a study about 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was using a pound of N. So a pound of N was placed at ammonium sulfate. We then added NutriLife at 2 different rates, trying to determine which rate would work best for our product. And we increased the nutrient uptake, meaning the nitrogen into the leaf. We did leaf tissue studies. And this is, different than a color quality study, which are important, but this was actually measuring effect of nutrients into the plant. So we improved it by 50%. And 75%. This is a tremendous increase in efficiency for that fertilizer. After seeing this data, another one of our researchers commented that, if you're happy with the color and quality of what you're getting and the quality of your turf, maybe you could actually get the same effectiveness by reducing the amount of nitrogen. And with all the regulation coming forward, it might be good to look at having a solution for these regulations where we drop from 1 pound to 0.7 of a pound. And anybody in the Northeast and in the Midwest know a lot of states are adopting a 0.7, 0.75, limit on nitrogen application. So 1 pound of nitrogen at 2204, 1 pound per 1,000 square feet of N, and then with the same fertilizer with NutriLife added, same, but at 0.7 of a pound, we actually almost doubled the amount of nitrogen in. And you can see a little bit increase in phosphorus, almost double the potassium, a little bit of calcium, magnesium, sulfur. So again, at a reduced rate, because we're making it more efficient and we're driving energy, we're driving the nutrients into the plant, we actually can measure more nutrients into the plant. This was a study done down in Florida by a major lawn care company. They took 500 lawns, 250 with regular fertilizer, 250 with same fertilizer treated with NutriLife. In this case, they did not reduce the rate because they were worried about going into a 3-month blackout period. Starting June 1 and going to August 30, they're not allowed to apply nitrogen in this area in Florida. So what they wanted to test was to see, will NutriLife help put more nutrients into the plant? And even during a blackout, will they retain more nutrients into the plant? So after applying in May, we went back in June, and sure enough, we had almost a 30% increase of the nitrogen in the leaves. We went back to September 1, just before they came out and started applying after the blackout, and we were almost at 60%, just 57.6% increase of the nutrients in the plant. So we did our job of allowing the plants to absorb and take in plant available nitrogen and keep it in the plant. Another thing that we do see in a lot of studies is a tremendous amount of root growth. And here again, we were evaluating what happens if you reduce the amount of N. Will this affect your root growth? Here you'll see on the left-hand side, no fertilizer. Here you'll see a regular 2204 applied at 1 pound per N. And this is good fertilizer result. You're seeing a 20% growth in root mass. But reduce it to 7/10, add the NutriLife, and you can see you get a 110% increase over the no fertilizer, and about a 60 to 65% increase over the fertilizer without NutriLife. Again, because we're making it plant available and driving the nutrients into the plant, and the plant's growing roots to go out and look for nutrients, we're actually helping grow deeper, healthier, stronger roots. Here was another study. Somebody wondered how low we could drive the reduction of nutrients. And we did a study on fertile and non-fertile land up in University of Wisconsin. And here you'll see where we go from a 20-0-0 without NutriLife, we reduce 20%, and we reduce 40%. And these all look pretty close, but we'd started to see enough drop off in quality that it concerned us going to a 40% reduction. Therefore, for the rest of the couple years, we've been looking at 25, 30, and 33% reductions, and our color, quality, and nutrient data has all proven that we're doing a good enough job of making that fertilizer more efficient that we're confident we can recommend a 30% reduction. But again, we didn't want to go to 40% because we saw this drop off. Here was another thing to test another technology as Dr. Gertol went through. This is that sulfur coat. So here you have 25% sulfur coat, which is a fairly typical use right now, 1 pound of N. We reduced the N by 33% and made it 100% sulfur coat. No NutriLife here. We then jumped over here with 25% SCU, reduced it 33%, and added NutriLife. And here's your non-fertilizer control. And as you can see, even though we're sure, if you looked at Dr. Gertol's data, that the volatilization was prevented, it didn't do anything to help move it in the color. I believe that Dr. Gertol's charts and data actually showed that also. But what NutriLife did was, by moving nutrients into the plant, allowed it to improve color at least slightly, so that we could see, using a third less with the 25% SU and NutriLife working together, that you got the best color, average color, over 16 weeks of readings. This was a leaf clipping study where we actually measured the amount of nutrients in the leaf. And you can see it wasn't just N, P, and K. And again, even though we concentrate on nitrogen in a lot of these studies, NutriLife helps improve the uptake of all nutrients, as you can see here. So this was a 2204 that was applied. 4 weeks after application, we did leaf clippings. And again, NutriLife was at 7/10, where the regular fertilizer at 1. And you can see the tremendous amount of nutrient increase, the efficiency of driving the nutrients into the plant. I mentioned earlier that by getting bigger roots and healthier plants, one thing that we constantly hear from our lawn care customers is that going into the hot summer, the NutriLife lawns stayed greener longer. Well, we wanted to prove that out, so we contracted a study by Dr. Richardson out of the University of Arkansas. And over a period of time, he actually created a drought. He prevented irrigation, he prevented water, even though it was in a field study, he has the ability to do that. And LNT 1 and 2 are NutriLife treated fertilizers. And what this chart shows that Dr. Richardson created was that at the period of 30 days, there's still more green in the NutriLife treated products than the non-treated fertilizer or other fertilizer items without NutriLife. So again, this 10 to 12 day period where you have more green is because NutriLife is probably developing a healthier plant with bigger roots that can absorb more water and nutrients during that stressful period. Now here's a chart we created that shows, if you will, almost a Consumer Reports type view. If you were looking at this as an automobile chart, Down the left, you might look at things such as um, safety, miles per gallon, and performance. And across the top are your technologies. They might be your different types of products. For example, Volvo would score well in safety. A hybrid car might score well in miles per gallon. And a performance car, you might see BMW or Audi. So these different characteristics are items that your customers are probably looking for. Reduced nitrogen volatility, which Dr. Gertel went through. And here you can see these dark green leaves say, this dark green shows these products, these technologies do a really good job. They enhance really well, full enhancement of these tissues. So if you're looking for reduced nitrogen volatility, these are your technologies. Nitrate leaching, here you go. But if you're looking at things like making nutrients plant available, getting more nutrients into the plant, root growth, releasing of nutrients, summer stress release, you can see that the biochemical product, the biochemical catalyst, NutriLife here, actually does a really good job at moving that energy into the plant rather than just trying to keep it in the soil, hoping that the plant will reach out and grab it. So as I started, after Beth finished her science talk, I wanted you to remember 6 key points. We're going to improve the nutrient availability, and with that, we're going to get more nutrients into the plant. It's going to help the plant grow larger root masses, and not just the roots, but not just the root mass, but the root tips and hairs. It's going to help it create healthier, stronger plants, which will enhance the plant stress relief in the summer hot months.